Hello folks and welcome. So there is a new version of Zorin 17.3 and I'm using the standard version of 17.3 Core. I'll take you through a couple of tips. I'll explain a little bit about Zorin if you don't know too much about it. And the system that I'm currently using is in the Wayland mode, and I'm filming directly from there. And my screen resolution is actually in 4K mode today at 200%. So adjust your YouTube player accordingly if necessary. All right, so this is one of their wallpapers, but we're going to start with the browser. Now, they decided to use the Brave browser instead of Firefox, and this is Zorin's website. So their aim is to be an alternative to Windows. All right, so one of the things you can use if you are on Windows to download the Zorin ISO and burn it onto a USB stick is use like Rufus, for instance, or whatever your favorite burning software is. So we have a download section here, which the Pro version does come at a cost, and I'll show you some differences there. But I'm certainly not promoting their product, I'm just giving you information. I don't get paid to make videos and none of that stuff. So you can read my About section if you're a subscriber. But there's the core free download. If the original mirror is slow, then switch to another one. There's options in there for that. You can also download the educational one for free. But the core is the one that's at a cost. Now, what you get with the Pro, according to the data that I'm reading here, is different desktop selections, if you like those, and some of the other bells and whistles. I'll let you read most of that. But 17.3, all right, so stronger privacy is what they have listed here, even easier user interface. Now their software stores are really simple to use. Just give it a couple seconds to update the thumbnails. All right, so they're making a note here that Windows 10 is reaching its end of life in October. I don't really use that many Windows operating systems. Most of mine are all Linux. But in either case, some of the Windows 11 computers, I definitely have one of those, and it's very strict on hardware. So anyways, you may want to look at that if you have older computers that are not going to meet those requirements. Anyways, I will just generally just go over this really quick, and then we're going to go directly into what the desktop looks like. Okay, so if you're on Android phones, you can also download the Zorin Connect mobile app. I don't believe that's available on the iPhone, but KDE Connect is, and that may play nicely with that. Anyways, a lot of updated apps. Moving forward, closing all. We can select different backgrounds. That's not a big deal. You can bring your own photos if you like. All right, not a big deal. So your settings are found through here. Your screenshot tool is also here. You can right click on the screen, settings are here, and you can open up the Zorin menu and your settings are there. So your appearance is probably the first thing that you'll look at, and you'll choose a style. There are 4 different ones, and you can get more if you upgrade to the Pro version, of course. So you may want to look through some of the theming, some of the effects, desktop. Do you like that home icon, the trash or whatever? Generally, your file manager will contain most of these. And I'll also talk about looking at network stuff too, because I do have some stuff on my local network that we'll take a peek at. All right, so tiling the buttons, which side do you want them on, left or right? It's very simple stuff to use. All right, and then the interface and the fonts. So I'm just going to skip over that stuff. Looking through the menus, they're very basic. Gary is our made-up name user for today. So that's in the accessories. And we can go back to each category if you like. We can certainly install a ton of software. The web browser that comes installed is not Firefox, it's Brave. I added Chromium as the second browser because I generally install 2 browsers just as a habit of doing stuff like that. All right, so let's go to the Office category. LibreOffice Writer is here, And I've been using LibreOffice for many years. I find it very useful and very intuitive. So, more importantly, you can see this is 24.8. It's fairly current. Or, I believe that is actually the most current. So there's Writer, the Impress is for presentation, Draw, Calc. So substitute that for Microsoft Office if you like. I've never been fond of Microsoft Office to begin with. There is a disk tool in here that you can stare at. You can see my drives are in here. This is GNOME Disk Utility. And I actually do have details on these kind of things, but these kind of tools also include benchmarking. I have actually showed that many times if you need to benchmark something. Anyways, there's lots of tools in here. Your software updater is here, and you can also use the software store. Now, I added Synaptic Package Manager for a reason. It does not come installed, just to let you see some of the software that are installed. Now, Synaptic generally does not contain Flatpak software or whatever, but I will log in Gary for a second, just to let you see the expanse of this. A lot of people that are in the Microsoft world never understand this one. They always claim that Linux doesn't have hardly any software. I beg to differ. How about 94,726? And that's not all the software that is in the software store, because the software store also contains Flatpak software. Anyways, just wanted to let you see that number. And this software is coming from where? We call them repositories if you're coming from the Microsoft world. All right, you can see that where these are coming from, and more importantly, you also have additional drivers sitting here. I'm using an AMD graphics card, so for one instance that's not required, but if you had a NVIDIA graphics card, you may see some options in here, and you would just apply changes, and generally if it's an NVIDIA graphics card, it'll ask you to reboot. So with my AMD card, it doesn't require additional drivers. All right, I just wanted to let you see that number there. So generally, you're not going to be using Synaptic, and you won't find it installed by default, but you can install it if you like Synaptic Package Manager. Just keep in mind, it does not do Flatpak software. So let's open up the software store itself. All right, we're going to talk about this one. So in here, the hamburger menu, you can see there's software repository. It was the same box I just showed you in Synaptic. So generally you have that, and the additional drivers is also here. All right, so we have preferences here. Automatic updates, probably you want to keep that. All right, but you can select some different things in here. You have installed software. And this is a browser I added. You have your updater here. It was last checked automatically 10 minutes ago. Now I could just hit refresh also. You can use the Explorer, and if you click the sub-menus, just let it build the icons. But you can see these are very pleasant looking. Some things have screenshots and something not so much. So if I do the, maybe the play, just give this a second, it'll populate the icons. Now, one of the things that I read on the Zorin website is they're making a lot of things more easy as far as working with Windows applications also. But there's also a lot of software, as I pointed out, with Linux. Well over 90,000 applications, or should I say packages. It's over 60,000, let's put it that way. I can be here forever. So you find something, you can look at some things have only the Zorin package, and some things will have different packages. So we can also do this by searches. I'll search for VLC. It says it's installed, but which package version? Well, I have choices. Yeah, many. All right, so the one that's currently installed is that one. But there's also snap packages and Flatpak in this software store. Some things have multiple screenshots and some things not so much. Very pleasant to look at. Double click, double click. That's just one of my tricks to make the window bigger. You can certainly use the old-fashioned way. All right, file manager time. So generally that just says home. If you hold the control key and hit L, it'll show you your name there. In this case, it's Gary, just a made-up name. All right, none of this stuff says network, so we have other locations for that. Now, my MX99 is running two services. One is Samba shares, which can also be viewed on other Linux machines and Microsoft machines. But that machine runs also SSH, Secure Shell. So this is the SharePoints. So I will log in as anonymous user on this one. Double click, anonymous user, because that's the way I set it up. And you'll see SMB on there. All right, so basically we can just take a peek at those things. We can add as a bookmark. And let's do the refresh rate thing. Let's go back in here. And I will eject that. And close and reopen. All right, there's the bookmark. Later on, I can log back in here to have a bookmark. What about SFTP? Well, that machine also runs SSH. So I'm going to use Control L to highlight the address bar and type in SFTP : 2/, the username on that system. And I can try to see if put an @ symbol there, if it'll do name resolution. MX99 is the name of the machine, .local. Does work. First time I logged into it from this machine, so I'm going to accept the encryption certificate. And the other day I was doing a video on SSH using a public and private keys. Those are a little bit more secure than passwords. But nonetheless, this one uses passwords. Now I'm logged into that system. What can I do with stuff like that? Well, I could actually create a folder on this user for this machine to do backups. So we will create a new folder, and this will just call Zorin 1733. I just gave it any name. Then I'm going to go onto the local machine, and basically if I had files in here, and I haven't populated those yet. Now let's populate those before I make backups. Control N is in Nancy, and I will use my demo drive to populate with some sample files. Let's take and grab a set of these. This is a local drive that I'm doing this on. I could also use that remote drive. Throw something in there just for something to play with, because that's what I do with these demo files. And we'll give us a couple of music albums. I'll just do 3. Drag and drop. All right, let's do 2 then. There we go. All right. And a couple of more. Trying to look for some wallpapers. Oh, there we are. Okay. Let's try the drag and drop method again, one more time. That worked. I don't know why it didn't like my music albums, but anyways, we can always do a cut and paste. So what I'm doing in this case, I'm going to create a backup. So I have something to play with, in other words. That would be a Control A to select everything. And I'll deselect the video folder because that's the one I'm currently running. So I will right click and do compress. Lots of options here. Okay, zip, tar.exe is smaller archives, Linux and Mac. Zip would be everything. I'm just going to use that one. Our user for today was Gary. So Gary backup. And this is static. So this will be 3/27/2025. And we'll go ahead and create that. So it creates a cryptic looking, or actually not a cryptic looking name, but generally if I was using tar, it would do that. But you can see the timer is working. It's compressing the files from these things. And after we get done, we're going to transfer that directly to using SFTP, Secure File Transfer Protocol. So I will let this thing run, and you can see the progress indicator there. It's got about 40 some odd seconds left, and then we'll take a peek at that tar. All right, so your file manager icons, you can hold down your control key while scrolling back and forth to resize. You can also double click on this white line to make this bigger, unless you feel more comfortable clicking this button. I'm just showing you some tips that I generally make mention, and I never know when I have a new user. So this is still in process. So if I hit the space bar, I get a preview of that painter hat guy or the butterfly, space bar. All I'm doing is hitting the space bar. I clicked and then hit the space bar. If I double click, this opens this in a different tool. This is image viewer in full screen. So, okay, our files have been copied or compressed, I should say. Let me switch to the home screen. So this particular tar, you can see that it's opening the tar up, has all the files in it and the sizes. So what I'm going to do is literally copy that, because it's always a good idea to have these backups somewhere else. Now I could put it on the SMB or SharePoint, Samba, but I'm going to actually do this with SFTP to the folder I created, which was called Zorin 1733. Just a name I gave it. And I'm literally transferring that as we speak. All right, so we are transferring. It doesn't do this instantaneously, of course. But nonetheless, what was the original file size? So that was 277 megabytes. So depending on the speed of your network at home, I'm assuming that you're doing this at home, this will take a couple of minutes. Oh, what did I just do there? What I did was, I'm used to doing stuff like this, but this generally works. I'm using a standard tower computer with a regular computer mouse. Mine is wireless, but it doesn't have to be. It could be wired. And I do these kind of tricks with using mice. All I'm doing is double click on the white space as long as I'm close to the top bar here. Okay, if you feel more comfortable, use that. But you should always make a backup of your personal files and put them somewhere else. You know, there's nothing worse than leaving this on this machine and then the drive dies. At this stage of the game, I would also create a folder called backup. And then leave the local copy there. You already have a copy of this on that other SSH, or I do, on the SSH. Now you notice it automatically opened the folder when I did this. Let's go back to the home. So what I did was I dragged the file into that folder. So I have a local copy now, and I have one sitting on that SFTP, Secure File Transfer Protocol, on mx99.local. I can also log into that machine remotely, even with Zorin. So we have terminal for that. All right, so basically you can also put the terminal on your panel. So if I type in TE and I right click, you can add it or pin it to your dash or desktop. Now it's sitting here. To use SSH, I have shown plenty of videos in the last 2 months about setting up even SSH servers using very simple operating systems like XFCE desktops for Linux. Very easy to set up. But when I SSH into this machine, I need a username. Let's try that again. I need an @ symbol, and generally I use the IP address. So we could also use the MX99 local, but I'm going to just do this with an IP address. This is generally very common on your home networks. I think that one is 116. It's asking me to accept the fingerprint, in other words, the encryption key, and that's generally standard. So you would type in the word yes instead of Y. Then it'll ask for a password of the user on that system, because that's what you're doing. You're logging into that just like you're sitting in front of it. And you won't see me type anything. Now I'm logged in. And, sorry, trying to punch up clear there. So I could find out disk information, like doing a DF, oops, probably too small for you. How's that? Is that better? So what I'm going to do is run a DFH, just to give you that example, and I'm just looking at the drive information. Oh, I can do all kinds of things with this. Uptime's been up 9 days, 16 hours. First time, when was the last time I actually logged into that 9 days ago? What was the date? All I do is uptime-s on that. That was on 3/17 at 1800. Today's date is 3/27. Well, again, roughly 9 days ago. So that system there is running another Linux distribution. This is called MX. It's an XFCE desktop. And it's running two services, Samba shares. And Samba shares can be used with Microsoft. And also SSH, Secure Shell, which I can run commands. And I can also transfer files using SFTP. Lots of things you can do with these machines doing this kind of stuff. I want to type in the word exit. Now I'm back to Gary. And if I type in INXI on this system, let's see what I get. It says I need to install it. And you're probably wondering, now how did you run this on the other system? Because that's installed. But this is telling me how to install that. Sudo apt install INXI. You know what I'm going to do though? I'm going to cheat and copy that and then paste it on that line, because it told me how to do this. I could also just hand type it. Don't forget, anytime you do super user do, sudo commands requires passwords. And I'm going to finish the install by typing in a yes, or a Y in this case. Now I'm going to do an INXI on this system. So this system has been up for about 26 minutes. I just installed this yesterday. It's got 32 gigs of RAM, roughly, looks like 9% is in use. All right, the system uses systemd, the other one did not. So the system up here with MX, this uses sysvinet. It's a little different than systemd. But more importantly, I got information on both systems right now. This one is telling me all the drives, including the names of them. And let me scroll to the top. Now, why do I like to use this command? It strips out personal information. INXI, there are many commands. There are many commands. This is Zorin 17.3, their latest, based off of Ubuntu 22.04. LTS is long-term support, Jammy. And it's using a GNOME 43.9. Motherboard information is here. I'll show you the usefulness of doing something like this. Are you working to add more RAM to this machine? Maybe. Let's go find that motherboard. So there's the official website. That's what the motherboard looks like. And I can get tech specs here. You can see the Brave Shield just blocked 4 trackers. But more importantly, that's what this motherboard physically looks like without me opening the box. Just some quick tips that you can do with Zorin. You don't have to use terminal. You can use nothing but point and click. Very simple to use. But you can also get advanced uses when you're dealing with your file manager and terminal. Thank you for watching.